This is the Sparrows Unhinged in its stock, untouched form. And as you can see, it's got a key on the end and it's super stretchy and extendable. Problem is, this key's no good. So we need to adjust it. And I'm going to have a play. So the first thing I want to do is going to get rid of these shoulders so that it will actually fit in something useful, like the rigid. So I'll just give you an example. It jams out. So I need to take these back a smidgen. So I'll take that back. I'll probably do it in a diagonal. Not really sure. The next thing is I want to change the blade height. Blade is too high. It's currently from there to there 5.4 mil. I need that height to be 5.25. Right. The width of this is 3.17 mil, and with all my messing around, I found that 2.7 mil gives you the best. So I need to take this down. I'll probably take it from the rear edge that way rather than from the front edge, so this stays nice and square. But yeah, there we are. So I've got a couple of dimensions that I want to adjust. This length here is currently 9mm. For it to be truly successful, it needs to be 13.5, which, as you can see, it's not welded on. So I could file right up to the edge, and then we might be able to get a little bit more use out of it. So I'm going to have a play. I'll see what I come up with, and I'll report back. Okay, we've made my tweaks, and as you can see, we've taken the shoulders back, given it a curve so it's not sharp and it's not going to hurt my fingers when I'm trying to reach around the actual thing, because they've done the curves over here, but they never did on there, so it seemed odd. We've also changed the blade width. The blade width is now just under 2.7. It's actually about 2.5. I did adjust it a bit more because I was having a bit of problems with Smith & Wesson, which I'll show you in a second. Right, and that's all to do with the height of this. Now, this is too wide a stalk for Smith & Wesson on some of the older models and some of the hinged, but you can get it in there with a bit of resistance, and I think partly it's because of this bulge that's just on the back, just there, look. It's a bit prominent and it rubs against the casing. Now, I could tweak that and file it, but at the same time it will weaken the actual structure there, and I don't really want to play around with that too much. So the height of this from top to bottom was reduced from 5.4 to 5.2, right, just to get it through, and the overall length has been increased from 9mm to just 15mm there, which allows us to get through plastic casings, which I'll show you now. So if you remember before, the only cuff that it would work on truly that was hinged was the vipertek and other cheap Taiwanese ones. So just to prove that we haven't removed a facility, take the key and it goes around and it's opened. So one of the problems which we experienced was on the peerless. So this is the 850C, notorious with a tough spring. So I suppose we better show it off. So the tool would go in like so. You can see now that it actually fits lovely. Now that we've changed the blade height, it turns fantastically and it opens the cuff perfectly. So we've got peerless down to a T, which is great because this tool could prove very useful against peerless. So going on to Chicago, which was one of the Taiwanese ones, and yes, it worked okay last time, but we need to just double check that it works still, which it does, no problems, smooth as silk. Now we get into the trickier ones. I say trickier ones. This is the ASP Sentry, which shouting at it with harsh language will get it to open. But as you can see, because I've adjusted the blade height, right, it now misses. Oh, no, it doesn't. There it is. It just catches just enough. So the blade height is just on the hairy edge, right? So you've got to be careful on there. But on the other side, it is not a problem. Oh, didn't mean to knock you. It goes straight round and opens it up, no problems. So where the blade height has been made to have reduced, right, if I just hold it against the keyway here like this, you can see that it's now just catching the pulls, right, just like that. Look. All right, so that's something to consider with ASP. It still works. Right, Smith & Wesson. These are the ones that have proven me the problem. So this is the M300. Now these are normally hinged, but a good friend Richard Allen decided to weld some bars in for me, so I have a nice challenge rigid. What we need to do is we put it in, and as you can see, it is a fightingly tough fit, but it gets in and it unlocks them perfectly. So there we are. Now I have a tool that I can use to get out my rigids. And Smith & Wesson were also utilised in this, the S10. It's a limited edition cuff because it's been taken out of service. It was in New Zealand, so we'll just take one half of it. See how it was a really good rigid. But you can see it's got a really deep plastic, and just tucked inside there is a really tight keyway. So with our adjustments, we fight it in, and with a bit of wiggling, it's in place, and you can see that we are clear, so we should be all right to maneuver. So we're just going to give it a little turn, and just like that, it opens. So that's the S10, which is the unique mechanism that came from New Zealand. It's so cool. Check this out. Bang, now we're rigid. Beautiful. All right, and then most importantly, because I'm British, I'm always using TCH or hi-hats because they're plentiful over here. So now you can see that we've got the plastic, and then we only needed the extra reach. Can we get all three pulls? The answer is yes, we can. So perfect. With those adjustments, we now have a tool that will open it up. The next thing on my bucket list to try and figure out is why on earth it's so long and gangly, because this is a monstrously large tool. I think it actually only needs to be that length. So I'm going to play around and see if I can get, if I need these two extra parts to it or not, but I believe that's pretty much all you need. But like I say, it's best to practice with all the bits before you take it apart. So there we go, and that is the Sparrows reach with some extra tweaks, sometimes referred to as the Unhinged. So there we are. Thank you very much for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.